So let's talk about Scotland now. Scotland is definitely a nation. It has a national heritage. It has a national language which has been suppressed. It has its own distinct religious groups which have developed independently. It has its own unique culture and history. Scotland is a nation, but it is also a nation within the British imperialist homeland. Scottish bankers make super profits exploiting the third world just like English ones do. Scotland is not part of the oppressed world, and it's not a colony of England. The struggle for Scottish independence is not a classic national liberation struggle like in Ireland or Puerto Rico or in Palestine or other countries from the oppressed world that are trying to break free. The overwhelming majority of the billionaires and bankers are opposed to Scottish independence, but not all of them are. There are a number of Scottish capitalists who think that they could get a better deal under independence. One of the big issues in the independence vote was the natural gas and oil resources. Independence would have put control of these resources and the billions of dollars to be made from them up for grabs. It would have taken it out of the hands of BP and Shell, and it would have given other capitalists a chance to move in. However, to the millions of Scottish youth who went out and campaigned for independence, it wasn't about oil, and it wasn't even really about the national question. Scotland is a stronghold for the unions and for the Labour Party. In the last 51 years, never have the Scottish people voted in their majority for the Conservative Party. Scotland is part of a country where workers have lower incomes on average, and they tend to be more liberal, especially on economic issues. University education is no longer free for the majority of British students, but in Scotland they've refused to take it away. Millions of people who voted for independence yesterday were not exactly voting for independence from the United Kingdom. They were voting for independence from the Conservative Party. They were voting to stop the cuts in public education, voting to stop the cuts in the National Health Service, and voting to stop the cuts in the child care programs. They were voting to preserve the jobs of government workers. They were voting to rally, and they were rallying their friends to vote in the millions. I mean, it was a mass movement, you know, and kind of came out of nowhere. They didn't see it coming. You know, they decided that there would be a referendum on independence in 2011, and it was like almost, they assumed they would never pass, but then almost out of nowhere it seemed like there was this huge upsurge of people wanting independence. Now the Scottish National Party and the Scottish Socialist Party, which dominate the local governments in Scotland, called for the immediate nationalization of certain industries if there had been independence. Now many of the activists in the Scottish independence movement actually pointed out that if Scotland had won its independence, it wouldn't have been real independence. They would have been part of the Commonwealth. They would have still had to recognize the Queen. The military would have remained united, and they would have kept the British pound as their currency. But one of the big grievances of the Scottish people is that the nuclear weapons that are owned by the British military are being stored in Scotland. And they're there even though numerous times the people in Scotland, in their overwhelming majority, we're talking like 90%, have said they don't want those nuclear weapons there. But every time it's up for a vote for them to be moved, it's voted down and the nuclear weapons stay up there.